Hi everyone, welcome to Act 5's virtual Capstone Open House event. So Act 5 is a Christian gap year program based out of Redeemer University, and we are centered around discipleship, community service, and adventure. We're based in the Blakely neighborhood here and in Hamilton, Ontario. And so this is the place, the big home, and the city where we live, work, play, and learn together.
Act 5 believes in the value of investing into the places that we live. This act, we believe, is a way of being faithful to Jesus and the good news of the gospel. We long to see our places whole, renewed, redeemed, and restored, and brimming with new life. In year 2 of the program, which we're in now, we developed a new idea that would invite students to take on a significant project that as they look towards the end of their time with Act 5. It's called the Capstone Project.
So a capstone project is a cumulative endeavor where students dive into something that they're passionate about. So something about their learning in a creative way, and a lot of them have been very multifaceted. And so these are either meeting practical needs or they're bringing beauty, hope, and telling a story in some way. So these projects have been so exciting to watch. Our house has been just like brimming with creative events going on and people's projects, and it's been a really neat way to get involved in the neighborhood and the community, and the result is really special. As you'll see, these students have put a lot of work into these projects and learned a lot of new things and humbly submitted themselves to the process and to being part of this place. So it's been really exciting to watch them as resident leaders and support them along the way. And we believe that the work that they've done is significant.
But these were never intended to be just for us. Well, we wish you could be here with us in person. Let us share with you the outpouring of our students' efforts. Cozy in, grab a drink, and enjoy.
Enjoy.
So my name is Renika. I wrote a poem kind of about, it started as trying to be like an ode to Hamilton and the things that I've started to like about the city, but I quickly realized that a lot of the things that I was hearing from people about the good parts of Hamilton sounded a lot like what I've started to appreciate about people in general. So I had this moment where I just started writing, which happens a lot to me, where I'll write without really thinking about it. But yeah, I just kind of got it all out, and afterwards, like a few days later, I was reading through it and I realized kind of what the theme was, and I pinpointed that it was kind of about the parallels between the reader and people in general and the city, which are both things that I've come to love a lot. So yeah, I spray painted it one line at a time on the sidewalk in front of our house. So it goes all the way down Blake Street. And just in the last couple of days, it's been really cool to see how people have been receiving it. And I've been tagged in Instagram stories and stuff like that. So I don't know, it's just been really cool to see it actually play out and actually be meaningful to people that I have never met. But yeah, I'm gonna read it for you now. This city is proud of you. This concrete corner honored that you might tread here. You're quite a work of art yourself. In return, why not notice it? Why not give in and call it lovely? An old soul with a new life. That's what they said about you both. This is a culture of yes, one that loves that masterpiece, that expression painted on your face when you see these hidden glories. The life of this city takes after your own. You are home for someone, you must be. They gravitate to you for a reason, the same reason you've ended up here.
Hi, my name is Nathaniel Brew. For my capstone project, I got the privilege of painting a mural here on our shed. I think as soon as I arrived at Blake Street, I fell in love with the backyard. I spend a lot of weekends in my hammock, just in the back corner in the trees, reading, journaling, whatever it looks like. I spend a lot of time in the backyard. And I think that it's become a real place of gathering, a real place for our community to have community meetings, house meetings, like these kind of things. And I wanted to put something on the shed before I even knew what a capstone was. I thought I would just do it for fun because I really wanted to bring some life into a place that's already thriving. I thought the importance of that was the color scheme. It's all very Act 5-y greens. And I think that it gives a good kind of value, and I think it makes for a very interesting piece that I hope will invite you in and make you think about what a journey looks like. The ideas behind this and the kind of foundation of the whole mural was what pilgrimage is, what journeying is, what doing this as a community is. You notice that none of the people walking here are alone. And I think that was really important to illustrate for me as I kind of navigated, reintegrating myself into community. And I really wanted to make sure I did well by the people in this house. So there's a lot of ideas from people in the house that are incorporated into this, which I thought was very interesting, because as an artist, you'll often just run with your own ideas, but to bring other people's ideas in gave me a real drive and a real purpose to kind of create this overall idea of journeying together. I think the quote on the wall of "May this journey be all that you need it to be" kind of summarizes everything for a lot of us. And I wrote that, and I knew it fit because I hope that for future Act 5 students, this journey is whatever they need it to be. And I'm fully confident that Act 5 is going to help them kind of realize that.
I'm Jill.
I'm Marika.
And so for our project we made a cookbook, and we got a bunch of recipes from the Act 5 community, and we were trying to connect the idea of living faithfully with the rhythms surrounding food.
This cookbook was created out of the idea that food is not just physical but also spiritual. So we believe we can meet God in the everyday acts of meal making and enjoying food. So in this book, each recipe, it's accompanied by a scripture passage, a poem, a prayer, or a short reflection, and it connects food to living as faithful followers of Jesus. And we want to encourage readers to practice following Jesus, even in the mundane rhythms of just making food, by praying these prayers and thinking about these reflections, poems, and scripture passages.
My name is Chloe Hall, and for my Capstone project, I've created a 5-piece portrait series, just featuring like homes around my neighborhood here in Blake Street. So this includes like our home, 75 Blake Street, and 4 other homes. So each piece has been created on some 11 by 14 paper, and I'm going to be giving a copy of each painting to the owner, and hopefully, if I can, creating smaller copies to use as like postcards around the home, so next year students can like use it as letter writing material with like a little picture of the house on the front. I thought that'd be kind of fun. So the medium I've used for each portrait is watercolor paint overlaid with like black pen for detail and definition. I've just kind of used a pretty simple approach to each painting, but I've tried to include in every house at least like one special detail or feature or object that just adds a little bit more character. So, for example, Aslan the cat can be seen staring in the reflection of the window of his home at 24 Blake Street. Cats are very important to Sandra, the owner of that home. So this small detail will be kind of fun for her to see, and yeah. So the first painting I made is the one of 70 Blake Street across the road from our house. This is the home of our neighbors Glenn and Carolyn, and it just kind of seemed natural to start with this home because whenever we're sitting on the porch chatting with friends or just watching the neighborhood life go by, you're always looking at the house, and it's just so cute, and I really wanted to make a portrait of their home for them. You're probably going to see an elderly gentleman taking his dog on a walk, and his name is Gabor, and he's always out there walking his dog or just devotedly raking leaves off his driveway or shoveling snow, even though his driveway is always like perfect. So I could tell he just cared a lot about his house, and I really wanted to paint a portrait of his home for him because I just thought it would probably matter to him a lot because he cares about it so much. So that is the second portrait I did, and if you look closely you can see a Hamilton brick he placed on his porch steps, and I thought that was kind of cute. So I included that as well. And as we all know, our street would not be the same without a small house known fondly as the stained glass house. This house is at 115 Blake Street, and it was a challenge I could not overlook. It's really crazy to think of tackling every detail of like all like the wood trimming and the stained glass and like all the cherubs and like Baroque detail. So I knew I had to talk to the owner to get a kind of a clear shot and like what I should be focusing on, or if there was like a part he really wanted me to highlight. So I went over there and I talked to the owner. His name is George, and he was really nice. And we ended up talking for like 40 minutes, and he just told me all about his home and its history, and yeah, just like why it is so unique. And that was really interesting. Yeah, so he just kind of set me up with like the angle he really wanted me to capture and like the certain aspects that were important to him. So that was kind of cool. So 24 Blake Street is affectionately called the Cat Lady's House. It's owned by a really nice woman named Sandra. She lives in the main floor, and her housemate Genevieve lives on the top floor, and they have another housemate in the bottom floor. So I'm going to be giving 3 copies to them. It was really important to her that I included at least one of her rescue cats in the portrait. So I did that, and this is one of my favorite pieces. For the very last piece, I thought it would be kind of natural to finish off with our own home, 75 Blake Street. Yeah, I just made sure to include the front porch chairs peeking over the railing, because we always sit out here and just visit with each other and drink tea. And I tried to make it springtime or summer because that's my favorite season here on Blake Street. Everything's just so green, and it was so beautiful when I arrived here in September with the bushes, so I wanted to capture that. And I'm kind of excited to have a copy of this home for when I leave back to my other home in Smithers, just to kind of remember it. Throughout this project, I felt like both my painting and people skills have been tested and sharpened. So for me, this capstone project has been kind of a perfect blend of like getting creative with my hands and with my mind, and just forming relationships with new people, which has been really cool. As I come away from these past weeks, I feel so much closer to this place than I have all year. And this project has been a really cool way to just kind of bring together God's gift of like art and relationship and creativity all in one. And I've just really enjoyed doing it.
My name is Faith and Income, and for my capstone project, I decided to paint this art mural of a butterfly. I was going to do it for my placement, but because time didn't allow for it, I decided to make it into my capstone project. So hopefully this will go up on Barton Street somewhere. The location hasn't really been decided yet, but eventually it'll go up somewhere. And then my hopes for it is that it can just be like an Instagrammable type thing that people can take pictures with on the street. And yeah, like I'm going to put a hashtag eventually down here, and my Instagram, and Act 5's and the Barton BIA's Instagram, and then I'll be able to like see when people take photos with it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and so I don't know, I think my goal with this project was just to like bring something positive to Barton Street and bright. So yeah, that's hopefully what it will become.
Hi, my name's Ella. For my capstone, I wrote an EP of 5 songs, and it's kind of just about a lot of the stuff that I've been learning this year has been finding God in everything, and understanding that He's present in everything, which is why I called my EP Ever Present. And so yeah, each song is kind of just about ways that I'm learning to be faithful in that, and making each moment, whether it's making a cup of coffee or talking to people we meet on Deedz, making that something I can be faithful in, and then also, yeah, learning about how learning from other people's stories and how they're faithful as well. And so the song that I'll be showing, it's called Birch and Barton, which is the intersection that we would go to Deedz, that we would meet the soup truck at. And it's about 2 particular individuals that I met on Deedz, and they're both not Christians, but they both displayed really intense forms of faithfulness that I just found really inspiring. And so, yeah, that's what that's about.
Lisa just moved showed me pictures of her kids and talked about how proud she is to be the mother of such a beautiful son and daughter, and fed her dog her leftover hot chocolate, talked to him like he was one of her own. She is faithful in a way I don't quite recognize. Outside those four church walls, what is that like? And when life knocks her down to the ground, she gets back up and smacks it with a laugh in her eyes. Eric doesn't have the time to work a full-time job. He spends most of his days taking care of his mom, who's sick, and told us he most likely wouldn't have another conversation with anyone for another few weeks. But when he spoke, his eyes, they sparkled, giggling at the smallest things, finding the joy in the midst of everything, despite how his whole family told him to leave her years ago. He still tackles each day as if it's a brand new chance to make it count. Oh, he is faithful in a way I don't quite recognize. Outside those four church walls, what is that like? And when life knocks him down to the ground, he gets back up and smacks it with a laugh in his eyes. And it's in them I see what was meant to be when God created man. Image bearers, reflections of his perfect and good plan. They are faithful in a way I don't quite recognize. Outside those four church walls, what is that like? And when life knocks them down to the ground, they get back up and smack it with a laugh in their eyes.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you liked it. If you want to listen to the full EP, it's called Ever Present, and it's going to be on any streaming platform that you listen to music on. That's all. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Joel Naves,
Hi, I'm Noah Steenbergen.
and for our Capstone project, we did a documentary of Deedz, which is where we went to the soup truck and brought hot chocolate and shared it with people that came there.
Throughout the semesters of Act 5, we have been going a lot, and it's been really impactful for us, so we wanted to share with a bunch of people, as many people as we can, how it impacted us and kind of give them a feel of what it's like.
We can't show you the whole video now, so here's a little clip to give you an idea of what the video is about.
I'm yet to meet a single person who's gone on Deedz and not been intrigued by that kind of Christian life. I've yet to meet someone who goes on Deedz and spends an evening talking with people who get dinner from the soup truck and people who are kind of on the margins of our society and don't walk away thinking that that's a God that they can get behind, that this sort of way of living out your faith towards equity and justice is something that people don't want to get behind. I think that instead of trying to build things up to be big and flashy, oftentimes we just need to tear it down and sit on the sidewalk eating soup truck soup with people, and that's a lot more convincing and a lot more deeply meaningful.
It's truly a blessing. The people we meet they bless us as much as we try to bless them. It's a fantastic thing.
There was a guy that was just kind of sitting on the curb like by himself, and I noticed him observing everyone else and just like watching, and that's kind of what I was doing because I didn't really feel like talking to anyone, and I was like, I should go talk to him. So I offered him some hot chocolate and we just got chatting, and I asked him what his name was. He said his name was Eric, and it didn't take very long for him to like get up off the curb and start like just completely interacting with me and like telling me his whole life story.
A lot of people say that, oh, you should have left a long time ago and had your own life, but I'm
family person. Family comes first, and then whatever else comes next. And you know, if things happen, things happen.
From doing Deedz, we have discovered that it doesn't take much to get to know these kind of people, and that if you really give them the time and you listen to them, they have so much to share with you. And through these experiences, we've learned so much about these people and have seen God in new and different ways through them.
Although sometimes the experiences that we remember from Deedz are sad, they always bring us so much joy as we remember them. Every time you finish Deedz, you end up being filled with joy and energy, no matter how you were feeling beforehand. It seems like it just lights up your soul and you feel full after. If you're interested in watching the whole video, find my channel on YouTube at Noah Steenbergen to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, so for our capstone project, we built a pizza oven. We were kind of inspired to do this from Coldwater, the organization we do our camping trips throughout the year. And at their base camp, they have a pizza oven, and they served us pizza out of it, and it was a really cool experience eating outside in a community. So we really liked that idea, and we were also inspired by students last year who built this cement foundation with the intention of building a pizza oven on top of it. Yeah, so we're like, the foundation's already here, this could be a really cool project, building off of what they started and weren't able to complete because of being cut short last year with COVID. Yeah, so the next aspect to our project was building the base and finding materials. There was a lot of research put into how we were going to go about making this pizza oven, a lot of different aspects to and opinions on like how you build a pizza oven. So yeah, we decided on using cinder blocks for our base. We found them off of Facebook Marketplace from someone in Hamilton, and learned to mortar and kind of just put it together.
The next step was we had to fill the inside of the base to get it up to the right height. So we got a bunch of fill from Redeemer that we just kind of threw it all in this big box. And then we had 4 patio stones lying around that we just lined them up on the inside, and they fit perfectly, which is really nice. And then we put wine bottles on top of that as like an insulation layer. And then we actually built an insulation layer out of sand and clay. And then put fire bricks on top of that to keep, so that when you light a fire inside, it keeps the floor hotter for longer. And then we laid the fire bricks on top of that. And then the next step was to actually build the dome itself.
Yeah, so to build the dome, there's about 3 layers of insulation here, which consist of mainly sand and kitty litter. So we started off with a dome of sand to get the shape, and then you put a layer of insulation around it, another insulation layer, and then a finishing layer, which is still yet to be put on as of yet. Then we have a dome, nice little doorway made out of bricks here. And a final touch we thought would look nice is this nice Hamilton brick right in the middle.
So this is something that I think people who live in this house for the next years to come, the Act 5 students to come, it'll be something that they really appreciate, and I'm sure it'll get used a lot over time. And we hope to help preserve it by building a shelter over top of it. And I just think it's something too that just brings community together, and it can bring the neighbors, which is really nice.
So for my capstone, I made 4 pieces of art, and they're to show the 2 places that we've been intentionally returning to. And so I chose like our home and like our neighborhood, and then also Barton Street, which is a neighborhood nearby that we have spent a lot of time. Through like Deedz on Thursday nights at the local soup truck. We go there a lot at 541, which is a local eatery there. And we've just met a lot of people who are low income and homeless. And when we go there on the streets, we've just come to know the people and are able to like actually make connections and talk to people, and we recognize them. And it's just become a place that we intentionally have spent a lot of time. Another place being our neighborhood and this home. We spent a lot more time here than we were supposed to because of COVID. But two places, I made a piece that's of our house, just like the outside of our house. And it's just to like represent this place that we have spent many hours and that we just have learned to celebrate, and we have learned to cook and mourn together. And then the other piece is of our kitchen table. And it's just this place that we gather every single night and eat supper. And we play games and we have birthdays, and we cry and we spend time like working on schoolwork there. And it's just these places that have become very important throughout this year that I just wanted to depict what I've learned through this year through my art. Yeah. The first one is of our kitchen table. I named this piece Where We Gather. This piece is of our kitchen table upstairs. It's a piece to represent the community and the importance of gathering as a community. Where we gather each night and eat together around these two tables, where the celebrations and games are held, and where this place, as it is written on the piece, we gather. The second piece is of a man in an overgrown garden. And this piece is to represent a man that we had met at Deedz in the fall, and it's to be a larger representation of the people we have come to know through visiting the soup truck on Thursday evenings. The words "we all put our pants on the same way" is a saying that man repeated to us many times throughout the evening. With hot chocolate in hand, we have spent many evenings at the corner of Birch and Barton, learning more and more that these people who have far less than us put their pants on the same way as us each morning. We are all human, equally and wonderfully made. After this piece was finished, I came to the realization that the reason we are all the same is that we came from the same place, a garden where life began, that this place of paradise. We were all created the same, and each morning we all put our pants on the same way. The next piece that I made is a 541, and this piece has the words "we serve" written on it. This business has become a large part of the community on Barton Street. It represents the people outside of our personal community, the people who have become a part of this place and care for it well. We visit 541 regularly, learning the stories of the regulars, meeting those who serve there daily, and supporting the small business in our neighborhood. And the final piece is of our home. And this piece is called Coming Home. This piece is of our home. It is made up to show where we have spent countless hours, more than this year was meant to hold. This place that we have come to love, where we learn to cook, to care for one another, and to celebrate and create daily rhythms that are meaningful and faithful. The line written on the piece of our home is "We're coming home." On Sunday evenings at Evensong throughout this year, the song "Even the Sparrow" has the line "We're coming home" repeated through it. This concept that we are only stopping in, this program in each aspects of our lives to one day arrive home, our heavenly home. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, my name's Caleb Bauma, and for my capstone, I wrote about how Act 5 has taught me what I'm going to do with my life. However, I have no idea what I'm going to take in university next year. It sounds counterintuitive, right? Well, in our society's view it is, but I'm here to argue that vocation is much more than your job, or even your family, or all the service to the poor or the needy that you could ever do in a lifetime. All these things might be something you do, but they only stem out of your vocation. They themselves do not encapsulate it. Our vocation is our calling from Christ to follow His commandments and to strive into the unknown, where our feet may fail straight after Him. It can't be that complicated, right? So that's my introduction to my capstone. And then I just kind of go on and I talk about Ruth a little bit, and I talk about one of the elements at Act 5 that has really been vital to me, which is stories of faithfulness, as we call it on Wednesday nights. And really God spoken to me through that. So I kind of dive into that a little bit, dive into just like some reflecting on different things we've learned, and I kind of relate it to my story and where I'm going through all these other things.
My name's Sarah Kochuk. I'm 18 years old. My project includes sports for children. I sat in the Portrait John in October talking about that I want to run a sports clinic for young girls in the city, because I know that's not a huge resource and a huge common thing for inner city kids to have, especially with poverty and single parents and a lack of motivation in that area. So I want to do that, but with COVID, a little bit hard to organize, especially with gathering and planning and budget-wise. Just in the bigger places like City Kids and Reach for Sports in Ancaster, I talked to them about the possibility. They all loved the idea, just wasn't feasible with the budget and the restrictions to COVID. So actually did my placement at Philpott Church, my term 2 for 6 weeks, and Melody, my supervisor, who is the head admin official at Philpott, it's kind of good with that kind of stuff, organizing and brainstorming. So after hearing them know a lot and this is not feasible for bigger places, I talked to Melody about it. I told her what I was feeling about it and what my vision was, to kind of give kids opportunity to get active and commit to something in time of COVID. They're not sitting in their homes on their phone. So I talked to her about it, and she was like, well, with the restrictions, why don't you do sports kit? So I was like, okay, I can do that. So I brainstormed and I created a bunch of workouts for kids and laminated them and told them how we can worship God through moving our bodies and working out and being active. So I talked to 5 different families from Philpott and 9 kids in total, and I basically included baseball bat, some agility things with cones, tennis balls, a balloon game with little kids. The age range kind of varies, so it was open to all ages. So I delivered that to their porches, got to meet their families, and I had a post-activity survey that they got to fill out, and the kids were loving it. They played it all weekend in the park, and it was great to see how they could be active and enjoy things in town that's so hard families right now. And I was a bit discouraged, going through it, how I couldn't have this big thing that would have 50 kids there, and it's the best day of their lives. That's what I wanted. But I realized faithfulness for me doesn't have to be all big, and it doesn't have to be a big grand thing. It can be just little things here and there, little things that I'm trusted with and can move forward in my life with those. Eventually I'd want to do bigger clinics, but the time right now was not for that, and I could work with the restrictions and be creative, and it was still meaningful because it mattered to the family and not everyone in Hamilton. So.
I'm Sherelle. For my capstone, I made 3 different portraits of some friends that I met throughout the year, and I'm going to tell you a bit about them. Meet Devin. Devin is in his early 20s and is hoping to go to Mohawk College in the next year or 2 and go into roofing. He wants to encourage people to go after what they want in life, and he has found that to be really challenging and encouraging in his own life. He has lived in Hamilton for most of his life, though he'd like to move to Toronto. He enjoys coffee. When I made this drawing, he told me that he was trying to get a job, but wasn't sure if he'd be able to hold it. I found out a few weeks later that he got the job and is going to try to rent a small apartment when he gets enough money, and when he can, he is going to go to Mohawk in the fall to pursue his dream of roofing. Devin is currently experiencing poverty. Meet Christopher. Christopher is 26 years old. He's from a neighborhood in Toronto, and he grew up with his mom, grandma, brothers, and sisters. He went to church for all of his life, celebrating God's goodness in a lively and musical African-American church. Christopher has maintained his faith in Jesus till now, and reminded me of just how sovereign but just how good God is. Christopher has a passion for God and was encouraging me the whole time we talked. He has a passion for storytelling and is seeking out information about his ancestry and culture to try to understand his past. He said that our conversation was one of the first normal, deep conversations that he had had since the beginning of the pandemic, and that he feels that our culture has lost the rich art of storytelling. Christopher went to McMaster for social work, but after the death of his grandmother, and because of some of his issues with how the course was being run, he was having a hard time mentally and decided to drop out. After some familial issues, he found himself experiencing poverty. When I chatted with him and sketched him, he had just gotten kicked out of the shelter he was staying in because of a COVID outbreak. He had all of his belongings with him, and we tried to help him figure out a place to do laundry, take a shower, and sleep. He wants to get back into social work, but be the kind of social worker that really cares for his clients. Christopher is currently experiencing homelessness. Meet Andy. Andy is nearly 60 years old. He grew up in Canada, and after his mom brought him and his sister over to Canada from Italy, they first lived in Toronto and then Oakville during his childhood. He was a chef by trade at the CN Tower for a while, but then, inspired by a tradition in his family for the men to join the Canadian military, he drove to Hamilton and signed up. He went to basic training, battle school, paratrooper school, coding school, was trained not to succumb to torture, and went through nuclear, biological, chemical warfare training. He traveled to Norway, Lebanon, Rwanda, Somalia, Yugoslavia. He couldn't think of anything else in the world he would want to become. He enjoyed learning the skills of a soldier and serving his country. His father and mother died while he was away in battle, and he couldn't attend the funeral. He struggled with the idea of killing a person, but he quickly learned how it can become second nature in battle. He was handpicked in '95 to join the Canadian Special Operation Regiment, whose goal was to keep our borders safe and secure. He told me stories of many of the horrible things he had seen, including ethnic cleansing and stories of friends on the battlefield, and how he went to serve in Afghanistan. He told me of his twin sons in his first marriage, who he's so incredibly proud of, his incarceration, which he is open about but not proud of. I drew this drawing as he was living in low-income housing, trying to get his life together for when they come to Hamilton to study at McMaster and Mohawk in the fall and live with him. He has struggled with PTSD due to his time in the war and has been getting help with it. He makes it his goal to protect those most vulnerable on the streets, since he has been able to build community there. He encourages all people to do the same and to live a life of service towards one another and to love instead of hate. He believes that education is a powerful tool towards doing that. Andy is currently experiencing poverty. Yeah, I think, so I met these people at the Hub, which was part of my internship, which was really impactful. Instead of just us serving the people things like food and clothing and different things, we got to do that and meet immediate needs, but we also got to make relationships with them and become friends with them. And yeah, I drew these people. I drew their portraits while they told me a bit of their story, as you have heard. And I think that it's just really, it changes your perspective to actually listen to the stories of these people, because they're people firstly, and they're people experiencing homelessness and or poverty. They're not homeless people or poor people. And yeah, I think that it's really, I've been learning that it's really important to learn from people, and yeah, they have so much wisdom to share and they have stories. And yeah, I think that we need to stop assuming that we know everything, and just like, I couldn't draw an accurate picture of homelessness before. I still can't, but I can draw a person. And yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. We are so grateful that you could have seen what we've been up to this second term.
We would have loved to have you guys in for an open house if COVID wasn't a thing, but we're glad that you were able to still tune in and see all of our capstones. It was so lovely to be able to share this with all of you.
Thank you.
Bye.